Hi folks, as I've got my English finished for the Agincourt game, I thought I'll have a little play. It's the weekend, and let's set out the English army and to see what it looks like. Now I've sort of set out a representative battlefield. We've got the trees there, we've got looking at the English camp with the trees in the distance, and that's we've got that over there. Trees again on the other side. So we've got Agincourt on that side, and they come all the way around. We've got Agincourt over that side, just the other side of the woods. Now that's a 240 pace marker stick, so you get the idea of that distance. And if I zoom back out, I've basically deployed it, set up the map at the 3/4 of a mile. Which is supposed to be in the area between the two woods. It's about 60 inches. This is a basic 6x4 board, so I've set up the area that the English will deploy in at approximately 3/4 of a mile. I'm trying to get an idea because I've noticed some problems. So anyway, I'll pause this now and I'll get the English army out and we can have a look and see what it looks like deployed. Right, here we are. I've deployed the English. The English line has been deployed. We've got archers, we've got some men-at-arms, we've got some more archers. As you can see, these are in the hearse, or the wedge-shaped formation. We've got the centre here. That's where the king is. Old Henry is there. We have some more archers in wedges. We have the Duke of York, I think, isn't it, in his little group. Some wedges and some more archers coming up the side of the wood, which is, I think, Agincourt wood, isn't it, on that side. We've got the English lines towards the back there, and then we've got the Agincourt wood here. Oh, sorry about the light. Yes. But I've noticed a problem. Yeah, the problem I've noticed, if we go with this deployment, which is in most of the books, in the Osprey books, Longbow books and other books on Agincourt, they have the archers in these hearse, HERCE, and we have the men-at-arms split up. But that doesn't go with the historical context. And even in these books they show this map, but then they write about the English line being pushed back. Well, the English line, there are 3 English lines. We also have that problem that the French attacked by moving from 1st Division in a line into columns because the withering fire of longbow arrows drove them to the centre, and they attacked in these dense columns. Well, what centre? That centre? That's the Duke of York? That centre? Or that centre? Or Lord Camoys here on the left. Now, I think this deployment is wrong. It just doesn't work with what has been written. I don't know if I can go out, focus out a bit more. No, I can't. So we've got these. We've got the French. I've deputised the Saxons, as I'm still painting French, and I've only painted one. I've deputised the Saxons to give us the 1st French division coming forward to give us an idea. So I'll now deploy the French, bracket Saxons, to how they're supposed to have attacked, and I think you'll see that it doesn't add up, it doesn't make sense if you deploy this way. So I'll just get the deployment and I'll come back to you. So I've deployed the French. Now, is this what happened? That's not what we're told. We've got the division split into 3 dense columns, guys following up the back, attacking the 3 separate English men-at-arms units. Or are we to believe they only attacked in the centre, and Camoys and the Duke of York just stood around doing nothing? I don't think so. Because if we read what's written, just a second. Okay, so I'm just reading here from what Osprey say, just one of the many books we have, in the mass of flailing arms, the fat Duke of York was hurled to the ground and crushed or asphyxiated to death. So that's the king. That's the Duke of York over there, separated by an archer here. York was hurled to the ground or crushed to death. Near him, Henry was beaten to his knees several times. Excuse me? Henry's there. And the Duke of York is over here. How did nearby Henry try to help the Duke of York? That's where I think we can see some of these problems are arising. Maybe the archers deployed this way to start with, but I don't think the battle commenced this way. So it doesn't make sense, and there is no mention of 3 dense columns. It's 1 dense column. The word is that these archers on the flanks, on this flank, and the archers on this flank, pour withering fire into the line, and it clearly says the line of the 1st Division, driving the division ever inwards towards the centre and going from a line to a column. Not columns, plural, but singular. So I don't think this works, this multi-column idea. We have to believe that the men-at-arms would not attack the archers. So that's what we're told, so we believe that. Although, of course, earlier on, the mounted on this side, the mounted French, attacked the archers. And that's with the nobles and the kings and the princes and the barons attacked the archers. Well, why did they attack the archers when they were mounted? I thought it was beneath them to attack archers. That doesn't make sense, but we can almost ignore that. But we can't ignore, well, I don't think we can ignore this. So I'm going to redeploy how I think the English may have been deployed, which may make a bit more sense. So I'll get that all sorted and I'll come back to you. Right, so I've changed the deployment. Now I think this may be more representative. Well, I'm hoping it is. So what we've got here is we've got Camoys, we've got the King, and we've got the Duke of York. We then have the archer hearses. We've got a couple of hearses there. This is a line of archers who line the woods, as we are told, with stakes in front of them. I need to get some more stakes made. And over on this flank, again, a couple of hearses of archers, and then a line of archers backs to the wood, stakes in front of them. I'm assuming they had stakes around the side. It would make sense. As the cavalry charged them and were able to get down the side of them, that apparently cavalry wanted to. Again, these same nobles that didn't want to fight men-at-arms, didn't want to fight the archers, only wanted to fight the men-at-arms. But for some reason, when they climbed on a horse, they were willing to fight the archers. Doesn't add up, but there we go. So this gives us a single line of English men-at-arms. This makes more sense with the French. As I show you here, these are my Saxons, that's my French, deploying in line of the 1st Division, 8,000 men. This now represents about 5,500, so I've got to get quite a few more. But again, I'm painting up the French, it'll just take me years, I suppose. The English, by the way, there are 72 men-at-arms, at a ratio of 1 to 14 is approximately 1,000, and there were, approximately 990, so I'm fairly happy with that. My archers, unfortunately at the moment, only add up to 2,600 at the same scale of 1 to 14. There's 192 figures, so I've deployed them that way. My Wargames partner has, I think he says he has 624s of archers, so I'll use his. Still won't be the 5,000, and I don't think I'm going to be painting up lots more archers. You know, there won't be that many games where I'll need that large number. So anyway, this I think is how the battle commenced. Men-at-arms in the centre. So I'll now, French deployed back here, I'll now advance the French a bit to get an idea of what may have happened in the battle. So back in a tick. Okay, right. Now let's change the deployment. So we have the English the same, the archers in the hearse and the line against the woods. We come round to the Duke of York, the King in the centre, Lord Camoy here, and then we've got more archer hearses and archers there. Now what's happened to the French line, which stretched from there one side to the other side, it's now closed into a dense packed column, mess of figures. I put the sort of leading the centre going against the king, which I'm assuming they would have headed. They'd have seen the king's banner, they'd seen the Duke of York's banner and Lord Camoys' banner. I know these are not the correct banners, but they're just banners I have at the moment. And I've tried to show them veering away from the archers, getting away as much as they can. Now for a scenario type game, which I hope to play once I've completed the French, the range of the longbow is normally, I'll just show you here, this one stick length, but I'm going to double it, otherwise it's pointless. The archers aren't doing any damage to the men-at-arms. So if we double the range, that gives us a bit more effective. This is a 200-yard stick, 240 paces, approximately 200 yards, so I think we can add a bit more on. I know strictly not accurate, but it'll have to do. I've put the archers into 36-man units. I may have to add another 12, because obviously at long range, which they are most of the time, they're firing at half effect. 36 is 18 men firing, and against these supers it's a factor of 0. Deep target, which is more than 2 ranks deep over here, so more than 2 ranks counts as a deep target. That'll be factor 1, so 18 at 1 I think is 27 casualties under these rules. It's going to add up, but it's not going to do that much damage. As I say, as you know, the battle starts with the English at 200 yards away, according to what's written. That's not many rounds of shooting. The men-at-arms will move at 40 paces. Sorry, I do apologise, 80 paces per move, but they will be slowed down by the sticky mud to 40 paces per move. That's one of those. So it's going to take a while. It's going to take 4 or 5 moves to get to contact, and they will be disordered, as historically they were. I don't think the arrow storm in the rules mechanics will do that much damage, but you know, we just have to live with that. But I'm thinking this is something to what we're going to see. I'll just pull back a bit. This is what we're going to have the English arrayed. As you can see, slight concave, convex, one of the other, convex possibly, like the horns of a bull. See, the Zulus perhaps knew about Agincourt, didn't they? Sorry. And the French in this line, quickly or slowly becoming a dense column, a morass of figures. Yep, so that's where I think we are. That's what I'm going to be going with. And I think historically this is going to be a bit more accurate than the maps show. Although I have seen maps where the English men-at-arms are deployed in the centre, but then there are maps where the archers are not in here. They're just in lines and blocks. And as I say, I'm going to need, this is approximately 2,500 archers, I'm going to need double this amount. I do not know where they are going to go. I mean, I may have to put them at the back, but that's only 48 figures. I could add a few more down the flank, but they'll soon then be out of the way. Yes, I'm going to have to think about that. But I'll just sort out some more, sort out the final contact, or the final episode of the battle, that as it's written, to see what we can see. So back in a tick. Right, so what we have here is the final phase of the battle as I can see it. We've got Henry buried in the centre there. The Duke of York apparently is dying, being drowned or asphyxiated, and Lord Camoys is fighting away here. The mass of French, just one big mass. They've pushed the English back about 12 feet according to what they say, but the English men-at-arms did not crumble, they did not give way, and the French are being crushed by the weight of numbers coming on, just making it very difficult for the front ranks to fight, men falling over men. I've got approximately 5,300 figures here in scale of 1 to 14, so I'm going to need something like back here, I think, figures What I've shown here is the archers running forward. We know there's accounts of archers running forward through their stakes when they couldn't shoot anymore and attacking the French in the flanks, jumping on them with swords and axes and mallets and whatever they could find, weapons that were discarded they were picking up, leaping on the dead and dying French men-at-arms and using the daggers of mercy or whatever else. Other archer units, like here, apparently came forward and continued to pour fire into the men-at-arms. So I've shown that here on both flanks. And we have to remember that back here, I haven't got them deployed, but we've got the second French division, which is supposed to be more than 8,000. So I'm just a bit dubious about the archers doing what they're supposed to have done, because surely they would have been attacked in the flank by the second division, but apparently they weren't. So that's what we have as the final closing stages of the battle. The English in those sorts of positions, the archers almost surrounding the French men-at-arms, and the English men-at-arms dispatching those to the front. Different to how it's often shown in the maps, but as far as I can make out, it's going to have been something like this. So a big paint up for the French for me, get stuck in, and sometime next year I'll hope to fight the battle. I think what I'd like to do is fight it historically as best I can, and then maybe do a retrospective refight, giving the French the benefits. We could still have the ground sticky and muddy, but perhaps give them a better chance. It's difficult because if you change it too much, if you allow them to attack the archers, fine, but they never attack the archers. So you're almost fighting a battle that would never have been fought. It wasn't that they didn't want to get to the archers, they refused, as far as we're told, to attack the archers. It was beneath them. But it wasn't beneath the mounted guys, but it was beneath the guys on foot. So that's a strange one. I mean, another one of the reasons is they were trying to get to the men-at-arms for the ransoms, to capture as many as they could for the amount of gold they could get. Fair enough. But to refuse to fight any of the archers does seem strange. But there you go. Hindsight of history is wonderful, isn't it? We can come up with all sorts of ideas, but I just thought I'd show you my little group of English deployed and my French Saxons, or Saxon French. So anyway, I hope that was of some interest to some of you guys, and thanks for looking, and bye for now.